the extra cost for their salaries is $587,000 to the taxpayer. And right now, that grows next year and it grows the year after. This is my effort to point out where we are. I consolidated all the contracts, hopefully to make it a little bit easier for others to understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
information.
Mike. It's a lot of work. Appreciate it.
Public discussions. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Please, sir. Name and address.
Evening, my name is Ron Karen. I'm at 3 Aberdeen Court in East Lyme. I wanted to get back to what was originally brought up, what seems to be absent from the presentation that you saw here. The cutting of the specialist teachers, the music program, the instrument program, reducing field trips at some of the elementary schools as a result of the budget cuts, or as it's been termed, redistricting. I understand for budget cuts and I understand the tax implications. My background, I'm a naval officer, or retired naval officer. My last 2 duty stations were Penn State and the Naval Academy. Served out on a lot of admissions boards and scholarships boards. What we looked at were well-rounded individuals, not only the math and sciences, but also for the arts and leadership. And to see those programs get cut from these schools now cuts the footing, which further develops these students so that they're ready to take on those leadership responsibilities and enhance their time when they're at the high schools and make them more competitive for scholarships and admissions to some of the better schools. It's not just the blue-collar schools. It's a lot to do with being a well-rounded individual. And to watch these teachers get cut that are already at full-time to go down to 80% is doing an injustice to the children at those schools. And I'd like you to take a look at the budget. And I know it's been glossed over, and I know there were words that said that we're not reducing teachers, they're being retired, or they've chosen to go elsewhere, we're not firing them. But it's semantics, because we are reducing their hours. We're taking good, qualified individuals that are providing quality education to our students and reducing them down to part-time individuals. And with that, we are going to lose the quality educators. They're going to go elsewhere. One of the individuals is out on maternity leave. You're cutting her salary from a full-time position to an 0.8 time. Those are some of the concerns. The other items, or one other item, as a taxpayer, I voted for the referendum to renovate the schools based on the technology, the security, and what was available in the current school system. And we voted on that as taxpayers. It was approved. It's with the state cutting back the funding, this renovation project has turned into an alteration project. We've seen air quality get fixed. We've seen the security issues be addressed, but a lot of the technology is falling short from what we were promised as taxpayers. And I'm concerned with what I voted on and what was presented to what we're receiving now with 3 schools. You know, hindsight, looking at the administrative costs going way back, maybe 2 schools would have been a better solution. But we are where we are now, and we have to look forward. And it's disheartening to look at what I voted on change so much from when I voted to watching a new firm come in with different projections, watching district line or redistricting lines change after the vote, and watching how this renovation is now turned into an alteration. So as a taxpayer, I am concerned about what I felt like I was promised and what I'm receiving now. And then to further see that my children's education that was supposed to be enhanced through this is now being cut with the arts, music, and physical education. So please take a look at your budget, take a look at what we can do, and I feel that there may be some restructuring of what you have available to address some of those issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public discussions. Anybody else that has anything to share of public discussions? Seeing none, hearing none. Move on to closed public discussions and board comments. Under board comments, I do want to add that I did not disclose that I do have a family member in the Board of Ed system, so I typically mention that every year, so I'm mentioning that now. Anything else on the public board comments?
Just one. This is the reduction in 4 positions. That's the music and arts positions, because I didn't,
No,
I haven't.
just to clarify, there's a .2 music at Flanders and a .2 music at Haynes that we most recently figured out that we need to reduce. That's it. Those are the only 2 reductions. So 2 of the teachers, music teachers, going potentially from .1 down to .8. That's all.
From 1 to point.
From 1.0 down to .8.
Okay, so we're not eliminating.
That's the other piece too. The reason that's happening is because, Flanders is losing, all those students going over to Nyack Center. We're moving people around. You have less classes at Flanders, so it doesn't warrant having a 1.0 music teacher, 1.0 art teacher.
Right.
I mean, there was a comment about, the PE teacher. No, PE teacher has the option to move buildings and remain at 1.0. There's a whole seniority list. So as of right now, the only reductions are a .2 music at Haynes and a .2 music at Flanders.
Yeah, none of that was clear to me tonight.
It's not. It's not in there because we put this all together back months ago, and this small reduction, these 2 just has surfaced recently as we've been continuing to analyze movement of staff. So we just did all the certified classroom teachers. And now we did the special areas as well, so .2s.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yes, please.
I'm sure many of you already realize this, but for those of you who may not understand the exact role of the Board of Finance when it comes to reviewing the Board of Education budget, the only leverage, the only influence we have is the bottom line. If we suggest that $50,000 should be cut out of the budget because we think one of the admin assistants should go, we can take $50,000 out of the budget, but by no means is the Board of Education statutorily required to make that exact cut. So if $50,000 comes out in our mind because we want to eliminate one position, well, they might take it out of software and textbooks. We have no statutory influence over where that money is cut. So that does make our job a little bit difficult, because a lot of times when we reduce the budget, we are getting rid of things that some of us would prefer to keep, but we have no control over that. So I just want to make sure that that point is understood by everyone. And just to follow up, our main responsibility is to make sure that we pass a budget that we believe our taxpayers can afford. And while I certainly appreciate there are a number of individuals that are happy to pay more taxes, what we can't afford to do is lose the taxpayers that no longer have children in the system. They're still heavily subsidizing the school system. 70 cents out of every dollar that they pay is going to the schools. So those are the last people that we want to run out of town. If we're to pass a 10% increase in their taxes, they would be the first to go. And if that happens, then your 10% is going to grow to 15 or 20. And that's just the math of it. So again, our main responsibility is to make sure that the entire population of the town can afford the budget that we're proposing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further comments? Hearing none, I'd like to move on to item G. Motion to adjourn, do I hear?
So moved.
I hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hear a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So moved.